Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kids of all ages, welcome back to the shop. I've been busy, real busy, and working on the house, this, that, and the other thing. Right off the bat, I've just been really busy. The gentleman asked me a question, and I'm going to try to help him answer it. Probably going to help a lot of people on this one because it's about an e-bike, and he's changing his battery, and it's not the same battery that was in it, and it has a different connector on it. That could be anything. You buy an e-bike, yeah, and honestly, some of these people build these things and build them out of their garage in their basement. You know, they sell 5 or 6 of them, and you don't see them no more. You don't really know where they got the battery from, if they built the battery themselves or they had it built special in design or whatever. You kind of know where I'm going with this, because you go with one of these things, you need to get a new battery or your charger fails, and you have to, same principle, you have to get another charger that doesn't have the same hookup, doesn't have the same connection. On mine, I use RC plugs, which are Dean's plugs. They're good for 60 amps. The only reason I do that, I raced RC boats, electric and gas, and we've always had really good luck with these things. And this is just how mine works. It's pretty simple. Can only go in one way. But now I changed that. So this is just the charging port. That's this wire here going to the BMS. And let me get you all in a little closer on that, because I'm going somewhere with this. You might not think I am, but I am. All right. Like I said, this is the charging port, which is going to go to the BMS, which balances all 13 by 4 packs. These are the heavy leads that actually go to the motor, and I use 6mm bullet connectors for that, which they're good for around 100 to 80 amps. And that's the reason I use those. You probably shouldn't have to change those, but if you do, pretty much all this applies. The first thing you're going to have to do, and this is just to help a few people explain. Am I telling you to do this? Absolutely not. The disclaimer is, don't do what I do. Point blank. Right off the bat, charging lithium batteries should never ever be done unattended. Should never ever be done without the proper charger. These things are they're just literally bombs. They're not dangerous, but they are dangerous. You overcharge them, you'll find out how dangerous they are. So, getting back to what I'm saying, I'm just explaining what I do and explaining how it works. If you are not comfortable and don't know exactly what you're doing, get somebody else to do it. The only problem is some of these companies that sell these bikes and what have you, you know, they go out of business due to a lot of reasons, because, you know, they think it's going to catch on and it doesn't. You know, so the problem is you might have to buy a different battery, and it might have a different connector on it. Pretty simple. You see what I did with this. If I was to sell this to somebody, I'd sell that. If the charger went out, they'd have to change the connector to the new charger, or if the battery went out, they'd have to change it to that. So this is first thing you're going to need. Absolutely the first thing is a multimeter. This is a must-have. It tells you the voltage of your battery, which is very important. But the most important thing is it'll also tell you the polarity of the battery and the charger. So we know this is the positive. We see it right here. This is the positive end, and this is the negative end. So we're going to touch this off here. We got to set on, we can set it on 2 volts because we only know this is 1.5 volts. So we got this set, and we're showing 1.3 16, and I hope y'all are seeing this clear enough. Yeah, okay. So, and you see it's showing 1.315. That's the voltage in this. Let's say that, and you know, the red is positive, negative, or common is black on your multimeter. Let's reverse this and see what happens. Okay, you're getting a minus 1.315. So if you got the connection backwards, it'll show you a minus. If you have it correct, you won't see the minus sign. And I am, there we go. Here you don't see it, incorrect. Doing it backwards, we see the minus sign. So we got it backwards. Same thing with your battery. We don't know what's what here, so let's find out. We better switch it to 200 because we're dealing with, might need a new multimeter here. We're dealing with higher voltages here. So we're showing, and that side's a positive. Now I got them backwards, 53.5. Let me get a connection here. All right, now we know the positive is on this side, negative is on this side. We know that. So now on the charger, pretty much the same thing. So here's my charging port, or my charging end here. We don't know which is positive or which is negative. We're going to find that out real quick. Now, be very careful testing this because you don't want to put this over here and have it slide over there and get that, because that'll arc it out. And same thing with your battery. Be very careful doing that. And I'm not saying do that, but if you do it, be careful doing it. So we got 54.5. So this showing the positive over here. Now if we swap them around, and be careful not to touch them, we're showing minus. Now, a very important thing I'm fixed to show you right here. Let's say you had to change this. Now we're even going to cut this and we're going to solder it, and this is the way I would do it. But I want to know how many people noticed which one of these wires, colored wires, was positive or negative when I did that. Let me get back out of here. I don't want to have to redo this video. So again, and I'm hoping you can see this, and I'm going to bring the telephoto in just a little bit so you can see it, or you're going to see it better like this. Alright, you might see it better like this. And even with the charger, like I was saying, and that's showing a minus 54. And that's showing 54. Some of these companies that make these, they don't have the same wire color code as we do over here. The first thing you would have thought if you would have cut this open was, well, red's positive, that has to be negative. Not so. On this particular charger right here, we don't see the minus sign, do we? And what I'm showing you right here is let me stick it in here. Whoop. See what I was saying? You don't want to touch them? Alright. So it's showing the blue as your positive. So there you go. If you would have thought the red was positive, same thing with the battery. You cannot go by the wire colors. Now, on chargers, it's pretty simple. And I got to see what y'all are seeing here. So alright. They're going to have the connector let you know that the inside is positive on that and the outside is negative on the plug. So that'll be on all your chargers, and it should tell you, and I hope you can see that. Okay, so let me get back out here. So you have to get one of these. This is how you're going to tell your polarity of your wires. Very important. So we're going to turn this off, and he was curious in how, and let's say this is coming from the battery, and this is the connector that you want to change from the old battery to the new battery. To begin with, you cut the old one off. You do one wire at a time. Don't grab both of them and crimp, because they will short out. Seeing as how you already know the polarity, negative. Judging back with the connector you're going on is actually different. But you know how it is on your charger, you'll be able to go by that. So what pins what? Now let's say to a point where you don't know which one of these goes into that port. This one here, you can see them. Some you can't. We're going to put this into continuity for 2M on your multimeter. And when these touch together, they're going to give you a zero factor there. So if you touch one And on your charger, that center port or whatever, if that's it, then you know that goes to that red wire. This one will go to the blue wire. So that's the reason these multimeters are very, and they've got some really good videos on here that tell you how to use these. But they're very inexpensive and worth their weight in gold sometimes. So now that we're over the how to check your voltages and your polarities, we're actually going to connect these back. My dog out there. All right. I love solder. There's no other connector, and I don't use tape. I will use shrink tube. You can get it at your local auto parts store. You can get it anywhere. Soldering now, and you have to be very careful not to touch these. I suggest skinning one at a time and doing one wire at a time is probably a very good idea. Don't forget to put your shrink tube on before you solder your wire. You might laugh, but we've all done it. And try to get it away from the heat source as much as possible while you're soldering. There we go. If you have to skin your wire back a little bit more, do it. Well, I unplugged the wrong thing. So we didn't unplug that. All right. Anyway. Stop chewing stuff, Frank. Oh, onadoxin. Okay. And slide your heat shrink halfway up on that. Cut you another piece. And like I said, you can pick up shrink tube just about anywhere anymore. I haven't used tape in a long, long time. And this is a much better connection, more positive. Solder, all that stuff, shrink tube, everything could probably be picked up at your local auto parts store. All right, now that you got your connection made back, I use a heat gun to shrink it down. You can use a plain old Bic lighter or just a lighter, any heat source hot enough to shrink the tube down. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Simple, easy to swap a plug around. If you don't know how to use one of these, before you tackle anything like this, get one and get familiar with it and learn how to use it. I've seen some of the plugs on the e-bikes that will be basically what's the best way, like this, and you already know on the back of that what the inside is and the outside is. You just have to get it right going to the battery right here, and that would be you having to use your meter to swap it to make sure what side was hot, what side wasn't hot. So that's where that meter's going to come in there. That's where you're going to have that, and that's the reason you have to get familiar with that. Like I said, this is not a tutorial on how to do this. Disclaimer is, don't do this at home. But this is to explain how it is done. And not how it's done, is how I do it. So that's, we're not going to go any farther than that. I use different plugs from everybody, I'm sure. Now, to get back to this, I've got these together. Got the block welded on, everything else. What else I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this out a little. I'm going to weld two pieces right here, mainly just to strengthen the rudder and have a channel for the wires to go up on each side. I know it looks like it's going to be a lot of drag, but like I said, I am going to flatten this out. I'm going to put this through the roll, and I'm going to roll it a little flatter than what it is. So these are boxed up. Got to get some padding in there, get those out of there. But I hope I answered that gentleman's question. Sometimes it's a lot easier to show than to type in. And if you are not comfortable with it, do not do it. Get somebody to do it. And like I said, with lithium batteries, be very careful, because they can be very dangerous. So you arc one of them puppies out now. So I wish him luck. I wish anybody luck out there that has to do this, because that's the problem with some of these things, you know. Franklin! Stop it. And like I said, that's the problem with some of these bikes because the batteries might have a different connector and, you know, or if you have to change, you know, controllers and the connection up to the controller. It's all pretty much the same. You got to know how to use one of these to find out which is which. You can't go by color code on a wire because we saw that. It's pretty simple. So you have to know. You have to know what you got. You have to know positive and negative. So, all right, guys. Y'all have a good day. Hit like and subscribe. Leave me a comment if this helped you or didn't help you. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day.